It is no secret that BC's economy is in big trouble, and chances are you or someone you know has been hit by what almost everyone agrees is a full-blown recession. Later this week, as you know, business leaders from across the province will gather for an unprecedented summit to talk about what has to be done. In advance of that, we're beginning a week-long focus on what exactly has gone so wrong, and more importantly, what can be done to fix it. Fittingly, we start with BC's most important industry, forestry, which hasn't seen it this bad since the early 80s. Tonight, as we begin an in-depth look at BC in the red, Brian Coxford has the tale of two mills, one in BC, one in Alberta, same company, different provinces, vastly different bottom lines.
The dawning of a new day in the forest industry in BC, and the forecast isn't good. We're heading north to the community of Chetwynd, where the lumber industry is the backbone of the town's economy. When it's in trouble, everyone here hurts. With news of mill closures all around them, listen to the concerns of a longtime Canfor employee.
I'm not all that familiar with the politics of it, but there's got to be a better way. Somebody better take pointers from somebody else, or get this industry picked up, because we're going to be in pretty bad shape if we don't get moving.
You can see it in the people's faces. I mean, everybody's, happy here and enjoying coming to work.
This is really a simple story to understand. Two mills, one in BC and the other one in Alberta. Both produce roughly the same product and sell to the same markets. One loses money, the other one doesn't. And it's all got to do with the stumpage, regulations, and taxes in BC.
Both mills consume a similar log diet. Both run 2 shifts and have been upgraded for efficiency. Both have state-of-the-art computers that give an instant analysis of log value and the dimensions of lumber it could produce. But here in Chetwynd, the mill still loses money. In the first 6 months of this year, it was in the red, losing $5.5 million, nearly $1 million a month. Grande Prairie, on the other hand, made a profit of $4 million. Why the big difference?
And the cost of wood in British Columbia is very high because stumpage is high, and the regulatory costs of harvesting the wood and managing the resource base are very high. We've also got sales tax regimes that are quite punitive.
The cost of logs coming to the mills are much more in BC, about 50% more than Alberta. In Chetwynd, the stumpage paid on logs is fixed at a 12-month rolling scale at $26.60 per cubic meter. That includes forest renewal and target revenue the provincial government takes out. Stumpage is $11.10 in Alberta, moving up and down with the international price of lumber. But in BC, forest companies have other costs, administering the Forest Code, about $10 per cubic meter, a 0.3% corporate capital tax, and 7% sales tax on equipment and machinery.
I think we have a crisis in the lumber industry, probably the worst crisis we've had in many, many years. We, on one hand, have developed the highest costs for producing lumber of any region in North America, if not the world. And secondly, we have the Asian markets still in the tank.
That isn't welcome news in a small BC town where forestry is their life, and they hope someone's listening.
This mill means a lot to the community, and we want to keep it here, and we need to be profitable to be able to do that.
We have a good timber supply, and it'll be here for many years to come. It's going to be a matter of making sure that we can make a buck at it to continue.
The taxes and stumpage rates at Canfor's Grande Prairie operation are much more reflective of today's market reality. Not so in Chetwynd, where the mill keeps going deeper in the red.
This top bundle represents 1,000 board feet of 2x4 random. Today's world price for that, $267 US. Here in Chetwynd, the break-even point is about $300. That means they're losing $33 US on this bundle. That same bundle of wood here in Grande Prairie, Alberta, where the stumpage is lower and the taxes are less, makes $27 US. And the lumber is going to the same markets.
We're much closer coupled, much more current, going both up and down than the situation in BC.
The stumpage you pay is based basically on today's prices.
That's correct. Basically, you could say that, yes.
And if you harvested the lumber 6 months ago, you don't pay until the finished product goes out the door.
That's right.
Whereas in BC,
we pay at the time the logs are delivered, so that could be 6, 8, 10 months earlier.
In the boardroom at the Alberta Mill, the streamlined Forest Code regulations sit on the table. You could take them home in a briefcase. In the boardroom at the Chetwynd Mill, our Forest Code regulations are stacked high on the table, bulky like the expensive bureaucracy they have created. You'd need a dolly to haul them away. As another day passes on BC's forest industry, a lot of problems have to be solved quickly if the $16 billion industry is to get healthy again.
Tony, Canfor has 2 mills in Alberta. Both make money, and they're helping the bottom line, but it isn't good. The forest company has lost $9.4 million so far this year, $33 million last year, and nearly $57 million the year before. Those losses, which other forest companies are also suffering, can't continue.
So, Brian, can anything be done about this?
Well, for starters, Tony, the government could scrap the corporate capital tax right now, get rid of the sales tax on equipment and machinery, and cut the bureaucracy in the Forest Code. But reducing stumpage rates will be very difficult, if not impossible. They're tied to the U.S. softwood lumber agreement, which was negotiated about 2 years ago. The Americans won't give in on that. And it seems the Alberta and Ontario governments negotiated a better deal for their forest companies than they did here in BC.
All right, Brian, thanks very much. Tomorrow night, we'll look at the brain drain, the exit. We've been hearing for quite some time now that in the future, resource sectors like forestry will become less important to the BC economy and create fewer jobs. Tonight, as we continue our focus on BC's future, we take an in-depth look at where the jobs will be. And while it probably won't be news to you that those jobs will be heavy on computers and high tech, you may be surprised at some of the specifics. As Brian Coxford reports in tonight's Focus on 2000 and Beyond, get ready for jobs like broadband architect and geriatric food designer.
Computer chips. At this company, they design the chips that allow us to talk to the internet. Click on anywhere in the world and chances are the people at Burnaby's PMC Sierra have made it possible. Theirs is a high-tech enterprise that has quickly become the largest public company in BC. Wall Street values it at $7 billion US.
We started with 29 people back in '92. We're now at 600. We had $2 million in revenue that first year. Grew, doubled every year for a while. Now we're growing about 50% a year, and we're over $200 million a year right now. That's US dollars.
Our company's building, I think, really, challenging careers where people are well compensated, and again, there's a lot of potential for growth.
Minimize this and then maximize it.
Yeah. Also in Burnaby, the world's leading creator of games is setting records of its own in the high-tech race.
Our competition is a world market. There are thousands of products that come out each year, and the top 50 products in our industry will get a disproportionate amount of sales. So we've always had that in the back of our minds, and we've been able to build our company and build our teams so that they can win year over year.
Electronic Arts will chalk up sales of $2.2 billion this year. It's attracted the attention of the Prime Minister, who says high-tech is our future.
Being a world leader for interactive software is what will make Canada the place to be in the knowledge economy.
I think I had like 3 career changes in my life.
I think the maximum 2.
Probably 2 or 3.
The days of growing up and having one job are gone. The days of growing up and receiving an education and finishing your education and having that education supposedly served you for life are gone. Students are going to have to continue to learn throughout their lives. There will be no cessation of learning.
We do think it is 21st century medicine.
Some of the future jobs will be in the biomedical field at places like QLT, where scientists have developed a process of combining lasers and a substance called photofrin to attack cancer. Or at Burnaby's Ballard Power, which is linked with major auto manufacturers with the hopes of eventually powering our vehicles with pollution-free hydrogen cells. Other jobs will be in salmon farming, which has long eclipsed the commercial industry in sales. The potential here, 20% annual growth, $1 billion in sales, and 20,000 jobs in 10 years. The industry that was the backbone of the BC economy in the last 100 years won't be the major player in the next century. Gone are the days of going from high school to the green chain and a life in forestry. This industry is becoming high-tech.
It will be different in the future, but it's not going to be less important.
Fewer people, smaller land base, more productivity?
For sure. Much higher productivity, much like agriculture.
The primate economy of haulers of wood, catchers of fish, choppers of trees, that sort of thing, has been disappearing in British Columbia in terms of its proportion of employment for some time. It will continue to do so.
An example of new technology at Canfor, the Forest Company has developed software with satellite imagery to determine future cut blocks. It saves months of time in the field. As BC's high-tech industry grows, new companies might find a home in Tech Park, next to the old CN station in downtown Vancouver. The cost of setting up the Microsoft-type campus, $500 million, and not a cent of tax dollars will be used.
The concept is that this will be a high-technology campus within 2 minutes of downtown Vancouver.
There's something happening over there in Surrey that could have more impact on jobs and investment than fast ferries and SkyTrain expansion combined. Surrey was on a list of 25 sites in North America for a potential computer chip manufacturing plant. That list is now down to 2, Montreal and Surrey. The Taiwanese manufacturer hopes to make up its mind by the end of the year. If it goes ahead, it means a $2.5 billion U.S. plant for Surrey, 1,200 jobs, and a huge shot in the arm for the young BC high-tech industry.
Turbocharged engine. One tenant on the tech campus in the next century might be a broadband architect. With the convergence of the computer and TV, he's an interactive information designer. The experts say a top specialist might earn up to $200,000 a year. Another future job might be recycling old computers.
Man, what a piece of junk.
I can't believe that they used these only 20 years ago. Wouldn't even fit in my wristwatch.
Not kidding. Let's get to work.
The actors are from the Kitsilano Secondary School improv team. This job could pay about $25,000.
All right, you want the gym Friday night? Yeah, I can do that for you.
Another job paying about $75,000 is a school CEO. His job to bring in some private revenue for the school to help pay some of the cost of education.
There we go. I've almost got it to the right consistency now.
Yeah,
to give it some flavor, you know.
And as the population gets older, the job recruiters might be looking for geriatric food designers to develop tasty, chewable foods that seniors will crave. Back at PMC Sierra, the future's already here. This high-tech chip designer believes in the near future our cell phones will be video computers connected to the internet, and our worldwide phone number will be our web address.
The numbers show that while forestry is still king in BC, it has been on the way down, while tech industries are going the other way. BC's biotech industry, for example, which is developing new medical technology now valued at $4 billion, doubled since 1995, employing 300% more people than in 1993 and hiring 15 to 20% more every year. Then